was like, so this current album that we were about to put out, like we only made the call in like November, December.
Mind you, the single Sugar Coated
Was
Lies, it's out right now.
December, right?
Featuring
23rd.
Alice.
Alice Sky.
Yeah.
Go stream that.
Yeah.
But like that, you guys put that out on on the eve of Christmas Eve. It's like a big,
23rd December.
like, anyone at a label or whatever would be like, no, don't do that.
You're not allowed.
But when you're shit, and this is like all back to the point of like, you're doing something like super important. So it's like, it doesn't, at the end of the day, like the timeline of everybody else or the industry is, it doesn't matter. And that's what I've really loved about like seeing what you've done over the last 2 years, 3 years now almost, like, is that, you really found your right peoples.
Yeah.
In terms of your team, like even just with like again, shout out Lewis Mitchell, who's like your right hand man now at the moment. It's like, and Courtney, it's like, and you've just been able to just like not worry about what you should do, because I feel like when we were, and it's not our fault or anyone's fault, but it's like when we were 20, 21, 22,
totally,
it was like we just wanted to play by the rules.
We
Because
we
were very worried about that.
We
were very worried about that, and it's like. Yeah, I'm not trying to say like don't just I'm not trying to say like don't release something on a Saturday or some shit like or completely not adhere to any rules, but it's like at the end of the day it's like you just got to do things that are important to you and just like stick by it.
Well, it's adhering to your own rules,
right?
It's like it's not about like abandoning any sense of like purpose or direction or intention.
Yeah.
It's just about understanding that like what you're supposed to do versus like what you should and want to do are two very different things. So it's like us going on the 23rd of December broke every industry rule, but it followed every one of our rules, because our rules is like let the art come out when it's supposed to come out. And like 23rd of December was a week before Black Snow
came out,
premiere.
and it's about Sugar, about blackbirding, which is about the sugarcane fields in North Queensland, and it's like, well...
And Sugar Coated Lies got into the show, so it's like this song needs to be out.
Slaps when it comes to the credits.
Man.
Man, yeah, it just like hits you, it's just like straight to the chorus too.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, go watch Black Snow, that thing is... It's funny, I watched that show, like, my girlfriend and I, Alex, binged it, and it was like...
Shout out, Alex.
Big
shout out. Which is also like, I mean, talking about just like joy and balance and success outside of, your value through your art and stuff.
Yes.
Like, I remember us coming up as kids and stuff, and it's like to see where we're both at now and to see like you in your relationship with Alex and like having like just so much like joy and like so much... You just like level, like, like, and level within that, within yourself independently, but then also like within that relationship. Like, I just think that's like, that's success, right?
Massively.
Like, that's growth. Like, that's the stuff that like when you're a young kid in this, that like, I don't know, like, I just hope you just wish that people would tell you that it's like, yo, I see that you've got the passion, so you're going to do this art thing forever. So build a life that you will be happy in forever. And then you just do your art, But yeah, sorry, you're saying when you and Alex...
Oh, no, I was just saying when we were watching it, like, when you came on the screen, like, Alex was like... Because Alex has obviously not known you as long as I have, so she was flipping out every time you came on. Then she ended up being scared of your character. It was hilarious. I'm not giving... No spoilers, but anyway, like... and then, so... But I don't know, like, every time you came on, obviously, I was like... Oh, but then I just was like... Yeah, of course. Like, I was like not surprised that you were like doing that. I was like, yeah, of course he's on a TV show. I was like, you just that is something you've kind of always talked about and that you're gonna do.
Yeah.
But it's
totally.
it's just
I think it's just like having like commitment and like, and to be courageous.
Well, even the story of that's pretty crazy because you basically made the decision pretty quickly to go to Queensland to film it, right?
I mean, and that's the whole thing, right? Like, there's no like linear progression, right? Especially as an independent artist, like you just got to like be brave enough to just kind of like fall hopefully upwards, and like sometimes you go a bit back, but then you also need to, and so like I mean this whole thing is insane that I ever did this, but like I got the master file from Little Things Big Things Grow like which Lewis and I were able to edit and make into a song called Little Things.
Just so the people who don't know, Paul Kelly's original song written. So who was the other?
Paul and Kev Carmody.
Kev Carmody, and which was released in 1980.
It was 1991.
90, sorry.
I think.
Yeah.
But even that is like, I mean, we'll put a quick pin in that to just say like a couple of months ago. So From Little Things, Big Things Grow is like such an iconic song, history, truth-telling process that when Paul went and met with Kev was telling him about this story, and Paul was like, oh, that's a good story. And like Kev was like, no, that's just the truth. And so then like, you know, then they like sat down.
Give a brief on the story about
so
I'm unfamiliar.
It's like, we've actually been to the place where
which is so crazy. Like Jack and I performed at Freedom Day Festival, like at the Wave Hill Walk Off on Gurindji Country. So like back, there was this very inspiring Gurindji leader called Vincent Ngari, and he led about like 200 Gurindji people off in the longest land rights protests kind of in history, because like the wages were like
they're working as basically slaves. Slaves. There's like no
horrific. Yeah, and so they we actually did the walk that they did, and we did it in shoes, and like we did it with
when the grass was cut and everything.
We were like,
it was what was it, like 17 kilometers or something?
It was so long, huge, you know. And so they did it in like the middle of the night, so that it would be dark and they wouldn't be able to get shot. And so they like grabbed their kids, like women, children, men, all went. They went on this really long walk, and then they sat at these riverlands, and then they began like this, the longest land rights protest for ownership of their own country, and like this went on for like 8-9 years, and so this then kind of started the whole land rights movement in Australia. So it's like a really big thing, and it ended up like closing, or not closing, but it led to Gough Whitlam, who was the Prime Minister at the time, coming up to I'll zoom in on it. Yeah. But that's the photo. Coming up to Gurindji country and passing a handful of sand through Vincent's hand, kind of symbolizing the returning of country. Right. And so Paul and Kev Carmody like wrote this telling of that much more eloquently. And over the years it's like become, you know, this kind of like cultural touchstone like for this country. And so like in 2017 we performed at the
have a festival every year to celebrate it, basically.
And weirdly enough, I remember you did like a trap flip of like of that, and like I just freestyled over
not sure
it.
I'm proud of that. No, it was good though. It was
dope. And it was.
We did it actually in. I don't know if I'd actually do this now, but I don't know. When I'm with you, we tend to do crazy shit. But you were like, okay, I want to flip it, and it was like maybe be 40 minutes before we went on stage. And I got my Ableton out,
and at that time I didn't realize how, because it's in 3/4 as well, and like. I remember when I was freestyling to it, I was like, "This is so much harder to freestyle to." But I knew like
2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Whereas like rap music is like 1, 2, like the pulse is there, 4. Like that's normal, conventional.
Which is like at the time I didn't know, but then like in hindsight, I remember when fast forward, just like through. It was actually after we put up Black Thoughts. Lewis Mitchell, shout out again. He kind of works with Sony and Universal artists at times, and. One of the A&Rs at Universal on like a Zoom, because Zooms had just like started happening. Like they had a call with Paul, and like in front of the whole Universal team, Paul had said like his favorite album was Black Thoughts, and that like he'd heard me and discovered
which
me.
Is crazy.
Which that like was like a break in the Matrix, absolute break. And then and so that kind of planted the seed in my head of I was like, Paul Kelly knows who I am, and he's got this song there. It was just there. It was just in my back of my head, and then. Triple J asked me to do like a version in November, and then my grandma ended up passing away. So like I ended up, going back home for ceremony, and that ended up not playing out. But because I had that seed planted, I had thought that November's Australian Music Month, so I would want to do an Australian song. So it was going to be From Little Things, Big Things Grow. So I just had this idea of like what would be so cool. Is like if I just sat there with a guitar and harmonica, and I just played it, like, because like no one would anticipate
do
that
that,
that's what
yeah.
I would do. And so I started going like about learning it, and then as I was learning it, just like with the passing of my grandma and stuff, like I had all these like thoughts and ideas, like, because when you start to learn a song, like you get to like be inside it, like in a different way than like when you're just listening to it. Like you understand the phrasing and like, yeah, it just hits you in such a different way. And
I've become one with it in a way.
yeah, massively, massive. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like looking at like clothes in a store versus like taking it and trying it on and like seeing yourself in it and how it fits you. Like I think when you learn a song and you get inside it, like it just, you feel it in such a different way. And like it just, I started hearing the chorus in such a different way because it's like from little things, big things grow. And like in this story for them, it was about all these small things led up to like, you know, this amazing change. And then with the passing of my grandma, like, you know, it just felt so avoidable, you know, like it was undiagnosed cancer. She was a principal for like 18 years, but like access to healthcare in her community was like so poor that like, you know, so it was like all these little decisions like through a genocide has like led to this. Like, again, like bodies just being wasted, you know, lives coming to these ends. So I started thinking about it in that way, and I was like, okay, so like I kind of want to, as I was learning the song on guitar, like these like phrases just started coming out, and ended up just like writing it. And then yeah, in a very serendipitous thing, like I was saying to Courtney, like, yeah, I've done this thing, maybe we should like reach out and just chat. And then the next day Paul emailed me and was like, hey, like, do you want to perform together for New Year's Eve? And then I was like, yes.
It's the type of person he is.
Yeah.
Just absolute weapon.
Paul, like, legend, man. And so giving and, like, so gracious. And like, again, like, really learning about, like, you know, success and, like, being a good person, right? Like, good person making good art. Like, there's, you know, no more kind of deadly combination. But, yeah, so we ended up getting connected and I'd sent him this demo of it, and him and Kev were just so, like, go for it. And so, yeah, ended up doing that. And this is all going to come back to something eventually. But, like, after we finished, Lewis and I, and that was so crazy. It's like we got the master of it because, like, stems, they don't have stems for the song because it was recorded on tape.
Too far back.
Yeah.
The tape. It's like...
And they hadn't digitalized it.
Well, yeah, it was, like, just fine. Like, Pro Tools would have been, like...
I mean, they should, really, they should have stems. It's just no one digitized it. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so then they sent us the master file, and then Lewis, like, almost went insane because I mean, this is really getting into the weeds, but like to make cuts and fades on a master, it's just like, it's just.
So it's like the master is, for those who don't know, is like when everything is in one file.
Yeah.
You know, your stem is when your guitar track, your vocal track, your harmonies are all split up.
Yeah.
But like when you're trying to like make edits to a master, it can be, especially to one that, would they have done that to Click?
No.
So
Exactly.
That's not to Grid, so it's not.
So it's all
in
free time,
but it's not in. It's not locked into something that you can just move around freely.
Yeah.
Like you need to actually really dissect where you're placing the cuts. Otherwise, it'll just be like.
It's like getting the
totally
end product.
And then
they're like mixing vinyl.
On
together.
top of that, it's like the master has like the guitar, and then the banjo is like panned hard right or hard left. I can't remember, but like because of that, it means like we had like Lewis had to go through every part of the song that has no vocal and like find any guitar and slice it, and then because it's also not to like Click, it's like free time, and then also the panning of the like banjo, he had to like find a way to recreate it so it felt like someone was just sitting there playing. Because the thing for us was like we didn't want to re-record anything because we wanted it to feel like Paul and I
feel like it was. It wouldn't have been the same if you tried to even if you'd like to a T done the mic techniques. And
but even that was like, that was the other thing, is like we had to record my vocals on top of the master. So like back in those days, like they mastered everything so bright, and like we were committed already to like how much verb and like the treatment on the vocals. So like we had to test like a bunch of mics to try and find like the right combination between.
Did you do it on the Manly or did you do it on Anointment?
Yeah, I think we ended up going to Manly.
Manly.
I mean, big shout out.
Your voice is interesting. It's like pretty. I mean, you're pretty robust. Like you actually. Sorry, it's getting a bit nerdy, Mike.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you're pretty robust. But I guess yeah.
Well, we like it's been really interesting. Like because we've tested a bunch of different things. Like the Sony, which is like, you know,
C800, like the Travis Scott, Kendrick Lamar mic.
Yeah, which is like really good, but weirdly because it does some cool stuff in the top end. But
it's pretty bright.
It's really bright, and
bright.
I have like so much body.
Yeah.
That like we've always found that the Manly kind of like hits me in a different way.
Yeah.
But in saying that, like
SM7.
SM7, I mean, it was good enough for Michael Jackson on Thriller. So like, $700.
If
anyone wants to nerd out, like you should go and listen to like the Thriller vocal takes like across the record soloed, like because you can. It's so funny. Like we get so in the weeds about like what mics you should be using and what
how much treatment your room's got.
Totally, and it's like listen to the Billie Jean vocal take, and you can literally hear him clapping and clicking and stomping his feet because he's dancing. And it's like, you know what? When you don't have to have a clean vocal take, when the performance is dope. Like
Correct.
The equipment is about catching a dope performance, and like sometimes we get so disconnected that
so many stories. I've heard artists even like U2. I think when like Bono recorded Sunday, Bloody Sunday, he used the same thing, SM7, and the monitors were on. He didn't like.
Oh, Sugar Coated Lies.
Yeah,
that's the same thing.
Monitors are on.
Yeah. When
so
I did the lead vocals on Sugar Coated Lies, it was in the room writing session.
What, in Courtney's room?
No, that was in Studio 301.
In Forbes.
No. Is it 301? That's
in
Sydney.
Yeah. Because it was a song, APRA Song Hub thing, and I did the lead vocal.
You didn't recut it.
I never recut it because it was just dope.
You know what? That's the main thing. If it's dope, it's dope.
Yeah, totally.
If it's dope.
I mean, we did, but then in saying that, like, yeah, obviously, you know, there are other moments like on this new record where like we've got the most expensive mics and you know the cleanest things, and yeah, it is also
and heaps of it self-produced.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, self-produced, co-produced, like there's a bunch of stuff. I mean, I've also got to like give so much love to Lewis on like all my self-produced stuff is like also him looking through and, you know, making sure that it's like not shit. But you know, no, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
It's, you have like people who are
applying a bit of theory to the madness.
Yeah, totally. And then, I mean, you know, we got a joint on there, which I think is
we did that.
Tell us more about this album. How many records?
It's 11. It's 11.
Themes,
did one in
topics.
here.
One in here, one day, one night,
one hot balmy night.
What humble.
They left here at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Abby Von is on vocals on the hook.
Amazing.
Came in here, picked up a guitar, started playing.
Your dad's
my dad's Gretsch.
Yeah, Gretsch. Sorry.
Yeah. But then everything else is you got a few joints on there.
Yeah, it's like how many? I think I did. Yeah, I co-produced. I think there's 11, and there's like 1, 2. I think there's only 2 songs that I either didn't produce or co-produce. 2 or 3.
That's great.
Yeah. But that was also so much out of necessity. Like a lot of this album was written when we had moved to Perth, and then you moved back. So it was like
to Sydney, and then I moved back.
And then when you moved back to Perth, because like obviously that was like such a like a safety net for me. Like because it's crazy. We wrote the other day like
not for you, for another artist, for
Von, but and with Oscar as well. Like shout out Oscar. Oh my god, man, he's
a gun.
And sing more Oscar and don't treat it so. No, like he's like I think the more confidence he gets, he's just gonna shine. But no, like we wrote the other day, and it's like we like don't ever even have to talk because like we're so creatively locked in. So when you left, it was like this real thing of like, oh, okay, like if I like out of necessity, I was like, well, I need to learn how to like produce because like I don't want to stop. But I guess that's the whole thing of being a doer, right? It's like some people could be like, oh, the person that I have that really great creativity with is gone, so now I've just got to like sit on my hands. I think for me,
Or
it was
start
like,
from scratch.
yeah, exactly. I was just like, okay, like, all right, well, like, my main concern was that like Jack was like happy, healthy, going to a place that was going to be good for him. So no part of me was like, oh no, it was like, this is an opportunity, like, got to make it happen. So.
And you did a few records like that got probably slept on, like Pretty Boy, and you also produced the one that's got the Maisha sample.
Yeah, Chi. Oh,
Chi,
man,
like you
I think
did
that's
a
like the
crazy
hardest
amount of
shit,
things that like actually did pretty well that probably people looked over. So
yeah. Oh well, because I don't. I mean, I'm not usually very loud about the like I produce thing because it's just like I don't know. I'm making music. Do you know what I mean? Like
and that is what is dope.
yeah, and like so I think I think I probably haven't made like enough noise on the like but I also like it's weird, right? Because it's like okay, I play guitar. I would never tell
Very
you.
well, actually.
No, but I would never say I play guitar.
And you learnt harmonica in 1 week, so you could do little things at the AFL for Indigenous round in Perth because they moved it in 24 hours. They moved it to Perth because Brisbane had a COVID outbreak.
Yeah.
And you played harmonica and played harmonica, sung, and played guitar to 60,000 people.
Yeah.
Like,
Crazy.
And that was like the first time I'd ever.
that's why when I
played
saw it on
with
the
other
TV show, like when I saw it before, I'm like, yeah, I don't. Of course, you just like do it.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But that but even with that, right? It's like I play guitar to the average person, but like I've been around people that like
Play guitar.
Do you know what I mean? And I kind of feel like I feel like a similar way in producing. It's like I definitely produce, and my strongest thing in production is arrangement. Like I know
That's where I learnt it from.
Yeah, I know arrangement. Like I'm not necessarily like I don't necessarily. Yeah, it's like I'm around people that produce. Do you know what I mean? And got the chops. It's like I can do it, and like also it's like do you know what I mean? I can sit and I could produce and write with other artists easily. Feel very comfortably doing that. But it's like I know it's about like I understand songs like, and so then yeah, I guess I don't really like need to like yell about like look at my production because it's like man like I see producers are amazing. It's also it's like I got light on me, you know. I don't need to have like
all of it.
Yeah, totally. So it's like it's also about wanting I don't know.
Because I feel like sometimes people who like scream about certain things, it's like they're just doing it because like they need to mask that like their art's probably not very good. No, like I don't know, like people
I hear that
like,
though.
oh yeah,
I hear
I
that.
mixed this, I produced it. I like, bro, like relax. Like
Yeah.
it shouldn't matter, you know. Like obviously, I'm happy for you to say that you did it, but like there's people that go out of
their
their
way
way to say it, and it's like, but then when I listen to their songs, and I'm not even saying this out of like I'm like, honestly, the one thing I don't think I'm the most talented, the most best person, but I feel like I'm really good at being objective.
Yeah.
I work very hard to be that way.
Yeah.
Like that's how I think you make the best art is by being objective and egoless. So that's what I do. So, but then I listen to these people's art and I'm like, this is just like not good. It's not like it's subjective, not good. It's just like no, this is and the only thing with art that I think makes it non-subjective or objective, is what I should say, is whether you can tell it's lazy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Drake.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Yeah, let's actually can we go off all of the like
No, let's talk about Drake
go.
because this is my problem, right?
Shoot, fire away.
He's never going to see this. I don't
Get
care.
off your chest.
But it's just like, you know, this is someone that has so much capability to do the best art possible, right?
and resource.
And everything. And then we get an album like Her Loss.
What's the North Star though? I guess I wonder, the one thing that I'd say is I wonder how is it difficult to find motivation to keep pushing the artistic craft for someone like Drake? I wonder that, genuinely. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. My
But I hear you.
guy that's sitting in Perth that doesn't have a gold or platinum record says that. That's what I say. But obviously that's my, like, I'm you know, not smart enough to think like, okay, cool, you're not living that life. But I just feel like, you know, like we don't, you know, we have some resources, but like the stuff that we're doing is not currently not, you know, everyone still has a day job. So it's like, you know, and we're still finding ways to push it. I feel like, this is my perspective, if I had the freedom to have had all of these like really successful records, and I don't necessarily need to keep doing. I would find
other ways to stay
motivation to
creative.
keep doing things creative. But like, there were certain albums like
I mean, Devil Advocate, was that not what he was doing with what was the
Honestly,
I was
record?
just about to get to that point. But
Honestly,
it's like you and I had a discussion about this. It's like you can tell dude's gone in, found the best house producers he could find, paid them probably the most money that they could ever dream about, or not. I don't know how they did their business, but it's like, and then but then he's gone in and done like one take.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. Like, that album, what's it called again? What's the one
Honestly,
with the house music?
never mind.
Honestly, never mind.
And the title is
Sticky, like all these
bop.
other ones, they're bop, bro. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like there was a few moments on that record where it was
opening track. What's the opening track called? Falling Back or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Falling Back.
Yeah.
It's literally one. I mean, it's so funny. We're cheating on Drake because he did one take, and we just were like, Black Thoughts. Everything is one take. But
we didn't have a buddy. Yeah.
Well, it was also like everything was. I mean, I will say this with Black Thoughts, everything was one take, but it was maybe the like 90th take. Like
the 90th one take.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So like, even though everything was one take, it was like run again.
So we didn't have the knowledge. Like Drake's been doing this for 2 decades, and he has people around him that are doing it for double that. So it's like, I don't know. I just feel like there's no excuses, but also that's me. Like, I don't know. I feel like if I'm in that position, obviously, like, you want to have, like, maybe money is really important to you and blah, 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 and that's fine. Like, I can understand that. But, like, you have the resources to push things. Like, I just don't understand, like, why you wouldn't want to do that. Like, obviously, he's got to tour a lot and he's got to be busy, but, like, he can, like, rock up to a show 5 minutes before he goes on stage, go on, and then if he's really motivated, he could, like, I don't know, there's just... And again, I know it's my perspective, but it's just like, if I had those resources, I just would use them a lot differently. But it feels like he wants to... I don't know. There's a video came out, and it's like, this is 72 hours, and it's like... Yeah, like he's got the cars and I understand. We spoke about this in the last episode. Like, it's marketing. Yeah. I understand.
Well, don't you think that like the truth is like Drake, someone like Drake, transcends whether or not it's good or not anymore? Mm-hmm. That's the truth, right?
But he's so capable of great, don't you think?
Totally.
Don't you
the
think?
problem
Like, I'm
with
not
Drake,
shitting on him. I'm not saying he's a bad artist. I think he's capable. I just get disappointed when I hear certain things. Like,
who are we to feel disappointed about the art he wants to make?
Yeah,
that's true.
I hear that. Well,
it's true.
I actually think you are very entitled to, because it's not as a fan, it's as a consumer. He's selling it to you,
and we're eating it up still.
So you go to a restaurant, the food that gets put in front of you, that's the chef's art. You're still entitled to be like, that wasn't good enough. Do you know what I mean?
100.
If Drake stood on a corner and like he just sung what he wanted to sing, yeah, of course. Who are we to say how he should make it? But it's like, when you, I think, as artists, like, start accepting money, like, you also have to start accepting critique, because like that's the whole balance of like art and commerce. Like, it's not that Drake is just an artist. Drake is a business now, and also, I mean, that's a whole separate conversation, but like, artists best believe you are a business, like, and you do. I mean, we were talking about like music business, like you have to learn it, like, and so that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know. I wonder, like, from an outsider's perspective, it just almost feels like, I feel like he's inspired still in like, and he's obviously still making art, but it's like he literally is in a position where it no longer matters.
But I also think Drake's not making music for us as people that are in the industry. Yeah. Because most people in the industry,
I feel like I'm too old for Drake.
I'm going to critique it the way we are. And I do agree.
I feel like I've aged up out of Drake. Because I remember being 18, 19, 20, 21, and I was like...
Different Drake, though. I think that's a different Drake.
I agree.
Have you gone back and listened?
Yeah. I'm an avid Drake fan.
And you've gone back? And but I question this.
Certain things.
I would say, okay, what's your favorite Drake record?
Either Take Care or Nothing Was the Same.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you.
I know where you're going with this too.
If you heard those albums now, would it hit you?
Yes.
Really?
Okay, now
talk to me.
Outside of the memories I have of those songs, the hunger, you can tell he's hungry.
Yeah.
Outside of, I remember I was at this party or this girl reminds me of this song. Yeah. It's like he's really trying to, at that point in those first 2-3 albums, he's trying to prove himself. He's like, I can really stand with these other artists. My pen is strong. I can create. I'm versatile. I can give you singy stuff. I can give you rap stuff. I can give you stuff for your moms. Yeah. Right? That's where I look at it. Whereas now I'm like, he doesn't feel like he's trying to prove anything anymore. The hunger is gone. What more can he tell us at this stage in his career that he hasn't already told us?
Well, see, I actually think he could tell us a lot. But he
chooses not to.
Yeah. Because I feel like that's what I almost like. I question whether or not the quality between Take Care and Nothing Was the Same and like, you know, the records that we say are the best Drake records. I question if the quality has actually dropped off that much. I just wonder if like we've become desensitized to like he's just doing the same thing.
That's what I dislike about Drake. It's more so
that's
he's
why
recycling what we've already been given.
That's actually a really good point. I didn't think about that for 5 seconds. But do
you know what I mean? Like, because that's why I feel like that's why I say I feel like I've aged up out of Drake. Because it's
also,
like
I'm very aware of how old he has gotten.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
he's gotten older, and he's still making music about the same stuff. And it's like I know in my own personal life who I was when I was listening to Nothing Was the Same and Take Care, and who I am now. I'm different.
This is why I gravitate towards Nas just dropped King Disease 3.
What about Kendrick?
Kendrick just dropped Mr. Morale. Where it's like
this is the one thing, I guess the one thing that I'd say in defense of Drake is that because he is now transcending just making art and it's literally a machine, it's the content game. So it's like someone like Drake versus like someone like Kendrick. It's like Kendrick goes away for like 5 years, lives a life, comes back, gives you meaningful art. Drake's like keeping the lights on at like Universal, and it's like makes the next thing. You know what I mean? So it's like
yeah. I guess there's a lot of you know, it's obviously judging him, and you know we have he's putting art out. I guess we have every right to in a sense, like you were saying before. But yeah, I guess there are other things like he is keeping the lights on. He's employing people like and all that sort of shit. So it's like fair enough or what not. But yeah, I just my thing is like because he's capable of really cool things, and I feel like some of the drops he's had in between the big albums, like I guess
the Lucy's, the
what's the
drops.
demo tape one
Dark Lane,
like he's so capable.
Yeah, they give you on track.
I'm not even too concerned about. Yeah, he does touch on like when he talks about certain things, like topics that are. I feel like he can touch on some really cool stuff, but then he puts out a album and like the latest one like Her Loss and like he's like telling girls like not to come over. Like,
I feel like Drake's music is not meant to age with you as you grow.
Yeah. See, that's the difference. I think the difference between like him and Kendrick. Kendrick has grown with
that
me.
Kendrick album.
Same with Cole. Cole's music ages with you because you now get his perspective as a father in these records if you really listen.
And I would say what I find weird, like from an artist's perspective at least, is like I couldn't think of worse things than making the same songs over and over. But in saying that, it's like I'm just about to put out my second album. It's like Drake's putting out record 10, like record 11, like that's why I wonder like the exhaustion, like the creative exhaustion of like being like, and that's what's crazy.
Yeah, and like you said, he's probably got a lot of pressure to keep the lights on for certain people. Like.
I'm gonna flip this because. Moving away from Drake,
do it.
Having only about to release your second project, in almost a decade worth of artistry,
totally.
How did you make it more sustainable off of like one body of work, which was mostly
like
recent,
financially?
Yeah.
Oh man, this is like this is the game, right? It's like how do you and because this is the thing is I champion being independent hard. Like, again, coming back to the if you are who you say you are, I think that in this day and age, a label can only help you if you're already hot. I don't think labels can develop you. you know,
Ding, 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 ding.
And so how did I go from sustaining it? I just hustled. When I first started making music in 2010 when I was 15. And so at the time I was in school, so I had no bills. So I could just, sometimes I just wouldn't go to class and I just write music. And then, I was just writing, started meeting people, started doing sessions. So like I did like 5 years of that, bouncing around, finished school, did like a year of semester of uni, went back up to community in Northeast Arnhem Land, and I started working in public health. And so I got a job straight out of high school, and I got put onto like 50K salary. And I was
That's the worst thing to happen to any creative.
But it was the worst thing, but it was also the best thing because I was living like remote, so I had like zero expenses because I couldn't do anything with that money. So like everything I made, I saved basically. Like I just I didn't realize it at the time, but I was like funding capital for like to go to war, because it's like that's what's crazy is at that time, like I went and did like a year, and I basically banked like almost 50K. It's like at that time, as a no name artist, a label wouldn't have given me 50K, but they would have taken 80% of my masters.
Even half of that, bro.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like in hindsight, looking back, doing that was like a game changer. So then I moved to Perth to start uni, and I
studying med.
Yeah,
pre-med.
I was doing pre-med, and then I also discovered that pre-med and science degrees, there's so many scholarships out there. So I figured out that like if I could keep my grades high enough, I could apply for like all of these competitive scholarships, and then if I got those scholarships, I could
live off
further
of the funds.
exactly funnel that capital into making music. And so between like the savings of that like job and then scholarship money, and then it was just like, that's the thing is like when you first start making music, like the only overhead is your time and the other people's times around you, like, I don't know, like I think sometimes we can blow out like, like you need all this money to do all this shit. And you definitely do. But I would like be such a advocate of like sustainably growing versus like feeling like you need to have the best. Like it's like, okay, for example, like when I first came into the studio, you had the Rockets, I think. Yep. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, because that is what you could use to create here and now.
Yeah, Rockets and a PG 120. Now I've got like a Neumann and a Neve Pre. And
I still have my shitty 2015 MacBook Air running
not 15,
on a
bro.
Yeah,
It's
I think
like 13
it's
or
terrible, and it's like cracked logic, and it's like
you
like
gotta keep it on charge for it to run.
I can't take it off charge.
I'm
Like
just saying.
I literally, and I can't save anything to. I need to always run external hard drives. But I'm like really attached to it because I wrote all the Black Thoughts on it.
And we spoke about this on the last episode about like being careful about what you are like just forking out money for. But and it also extends back to like what we're talking about earlier about like you need to be a good person because you need to build relationships with other good people that believe in you and want to help you.
Totally.
So if you're an idiot, like, if you're a bad person or not, you may get to a certain point, but then people are just going to stop wanting to like help you.
Yeah.
Or not even help you. It's like build with you. Like, like we got together and we were both at similar stages of like making music in our, building our careers. And so it just made sense for us to just lock in. Like, I wasn't sending you an invoice for like producing and you weren't like asking me to do X and Y for you. It was just like we were just doing it,
Totally.
But like that happens for two reasons. It happens because one, you're doing something that you love. Well, a few reasons. One, you're doing something you love. Two, it's purposeful. And, three, you're being a good person while doing it. So like, otherwise the other stark reality of it is that like people aren't going to work with you unless they're getting paid from it or... or that. So
That's
you're right. Your only overhead is kind
time.
of your time and putting in the effort to be like a good, reasonable person.
Yeah. And I also think it's about like as you then grow, like, and with the relationships that you were talking about, it's like, do you reinvest into those relationships? Like, and I'm not even just saying like financially or whatever, but like, it's one thing about building relationships, but it's like maintaining them and like, you know, and it's like genuinely wanting to grow together, where it's like, you know, for Jack and I, it's like the times that we get to see each other is like less frequent, but like
Yeah.
there's so much like love. And like also I think it's like literally like what's just happened with Joondalup, right? It's like I think like we've always understood that like there was this bigger thing that like for whatever reason when we got in a room together, like there was this like alchemy, and it's like,
Massively.
you know, wanting to like honor what is happening artistically, and like and give each other that like love and respect, and also I think that is really a very long-winded way of saying like doing things with meaning.
Massively. And yeah, doing things and doing your best. Like, and I don't mean to say this in a like this is a like downplay, but it's like it's what our relationship was still like a transaction. I don't mean that in like a degrading way, but it's like we were both we
an
brought
exchange.
in exchange in terms
Yeah.
of like, and all I mean by that is like it's not soulless, and what I mean is like you were working really hard in your craft doing what you're doing as like an MC, as a rapper, as a storytelling teller. I was working really hard in my as a craftsman, as a producer, as
Yeah.
a someone who was laying a foundation. So it's like when we met for the first time when I was with Jeremy, and I pulled up a project to my computer, and it was in fire of Black Thoughts. I remember,
Yeah,
you know?
Fire then Black Thoughts,
in,
yeah.
in fire. So not in fire, fire of Black Thoughts. And Jeremy and I went, let's go get food, and we walked away and we got food for half an hour, and we came back and you finished the song. That was when the transaction started, because I'm like, this dude fucking wants it as much as I do.
Yeah.
Or this, and when I say
Equivalent
want it, it's
exchange.
not like it's like we want it, like it's this like, oh yeah, bro, like we're chasing like money and girls and cars. It's like what he wants is to like get better at what he's doing and do
Totally.
the best at what he wants to do. That's when the transaction started, and it's like, okay, cool, of course. And I'm been someone that's always, and you're probably the same, that's always gravitated towards people who work the hardest.
Yeah.
I've had falling outs with people, or people not like me because I do that, but I don't like I'll unapologetically move towards people that want it more or want to just do it. And it's not for any other thing of like, I didn't go with Ziggy because I thought the next day we're going to be driving Lambos. I went it because it was like, cool, he's doing something he fucking cares about and like really wants to get better at it. So it's like, that's the transaction. It's not a monetary one. It's like a thing. And then it leads to like skills, and the amount of skills that we learnt together is like priceless. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't go to any university and learn that.
Mm.
No way. I can't learn that like a SAE or Whopper. Like, there's nothing. It was like we were just locked in making songs and learning it, and through that building more relationships with people that we came across along the way. That's what it's about.
Totally. And I think it's like within that exchange, like it becomes like forever like bonding and forging these forever relationships, so that it's like, yeah, like I think I remember like our first shows, we were like almost like paying to hire out venues to play. And then like I remember being able to like be like, it was a really big thing to like incrementally like bump up how much we could pay ourselves off.
I know,
shows,
yeah.
and,
It was like $70 and it was like $150.
Yeah.
And it like went up, you know.
Yeah, totally. And
then
it's
it's
like,
yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like I think it's like, yeah, I think artists sometimes maybe because you have to be very selfish in like the pursuit of art, but like
Massively.
being self-aware enough to understand that you are selfish and that you're going to be asking a lot of people, and that like you also like aren't entitled to it. So like when people give you that kind of energy and you know, effort, like you got to respect them to give them same back, like so that there is actual exchange. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so yeah, like with Jack and I, it was like we could learn so much off each other, like, and we could grow so much with each other because like we were both open and committed to that exchange and transaction and pursuit, and then within that like formed, you know, a forever friendship kind of thing. And so, I mean, I think we got tracked into like, how do you then like transition into like growing and like, you know, finding like financial stability, freedom, all of that shit. Like, genuinely, I think it's just like, it's it's staying in it long enough, you know.
Yeah.
I think you've got to just like troubleshoot and figure it out. Like, that's the thing, is it's like, my first show I ever played at Mojo's, I think I got like $150, and I thought that was the coolest shit in the whole world. Like, and that's the thing, is I think that like you just can't lose that. It's like, you get anything from this, like, God, that is
especially with your mindset where you're willing to do it without income or payment. This is just a bonus. It's like,
totally. And look, when you level up, of course, you want to like, you know, you want to grow and you want to expand and you want to get stability. You know, you want to provide for like the people that you care about. Like, that's a natural evolution and progression. But I don't know, like, I don't feel like I necessarily like have the clear 10-step plan to do it, because like I always just believed I would. Like, I just genuinely, because I knew, I think it's like the indifference of like, I don't know, I feel like you can I don't know how to say this right, because you need to be desperate, but also like you can't smell desperate, like, because you need to know your own value. Like, you need to know when to say no. It's like, man, if I had just been chasing a bag, I would have gotten into so many bad deals, and I would have not made a fraction of what I've made. Because like, I think if you genuinely like have belief in yourself, like you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to like grow and build infrastructure that like could potentially, you know, outgrow your own project. Do you know what I mean? It's like, the places that like I'm starting to think about is like, okay, like through making the song Little Things, I made a music video, I directed that video,
Stood on top of the opera house.
stood on top of the opera house, that got in front of the right people who then were producing Black Snow, who wanted to bring me in as a, it's taking the opportunity, right? It's like that then, and I mean, I only got to do that video because Jack and I made Black Thoughts, which I performed at the opera house, made the right connections. And it's just like, you get
Steps.
totally, right? You get an inch, like you take meters, like you just gotta, but I think I feel confident to like keep going because I believe in myself, and there's no linear progression, there's no clear path. It's just like, you know, it's just it's having that persistence to continue. And look, it's definitely not for everyone.
That's facts.
It's definitely not for everyone. But I think
that's okay too.
Totally. But I think if you want to try, you just can't ever lose that effort. Like, it's just about, it's effort, and it's effort also as well. It's like, right, because like, I mean, you're basically never going to make the money back, because to ever start making money in this, you got to do years of unpaid labor. Like, because you just got to.
That could never be ever equated to any, like,
no
equation would muster that up.
No, so unless, like, if it's about money, like, probably
go trade crypto or something.
Literally.
Or maybe not actually.
Yeah. But no, like you know, and it's an investment in yes, you know, looking for financial gain, but like looking for emotional gain, artistic gain, craft, like you know, gaining within your craft. Yeah, totally. Because and when I mean like you won't make it back, it's like, of course it can hit, and it can hit big, and you can grow. But you just kind of got to let go a little bit. And that's not to say that you don't want to have an intent. But I don't know, like, I'm also someone that like, I love the pressure. Like, you know, like that was the thing. It's like, I did that job. I got those scholarships. I got myself enough that I thought, okay, I can go in. Okay, here's a real simple logistical thing of how to figure out how to level up, and something my dad told me. He was like, do the sums on how much money do you need in a year? he said, how much money do you need in a year? And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, okay, how much rent? Okay, oh, okay, it's this much. How much food? Okay, how much money to do a bit of music stuff? Okay, it's this. So you do those sums, right? Hypothetically, right? And don't get me wrong, this is a lot of money for a lot of people, but like you could pay rent, food, everything. If you're a individual artist, what, like 20, maybe 30, like, and that's living comfortably. Like, it's not like you have to struggle. Like, you've got a house, you've got, and I'm not saying that that's no money, but like once you actually get a figure of what that is, like it starts giving you freedom in understanding how much money do I need in my bank account to be able to survive and go again. And so like that really freed me in like understanding. So like when we moved to Sydney, I think the way that I looked at money within like starting a business was like looking at how much time I had to keep the business going. So it's like not about looking at how much money can I make. It's like, how long can I keep the business going? How long can I keep making art? So then when I have that like figure, it's like as things start to grow, like it should just give you more confidence to just keep doing you, because it's like, right? Like you get to a point eventually where it's like, if no one listens to this album, I have the resources to make another album. So I'm fine. So I just got to make what I want to make, And I think it's like, I've always tried to, and that's something my dad like really talked to me about. He was like, man, yes, financial freedom, but self-determination, self-determination is more important than financial freedom in that, like, because are you free if you're doing something that you hate,
Facts.
So it's like, it's understanding that baseline. And that's an arbitrary number, right? Like everyone's number is going to be different. Understanding how much you need in a year or a period of time to be able to commit yourself to keep doing it, and then turning that over and then just doing it enough times until you start to like bear the fruits of your labor. And like, that's the thing, right? It's like some people are Billie Eilish, where they write a song at 13 and become the biggest artist in the world. And some people are Quincy Jones, where they produce the biggest selling album in the whole world in their 50s. So it's like, when this happens and how it happens, it's going to be so different for everyone. So looking at like other people as a benchmark of like how you're going is just so irrelevant. I think it's just like looking at like how much time do I have to stay in it? Because that's the thing. You're only ever going to get quote unquote financial success is if like you're in it long enough to hit.
I agree with this point so much, because outside of my day job, I work in events. So like we were talking over the pandemic when we started this podcast, it was about sustainability. And once our event business got to the point where it can fund itself and it's not coming out of my own pocket, and I know I can continue throwing the next gig, it became easy. And like you said, some of the financial fruits of the labor started coming because you've just been there long enough. Yeah. You start getting, from my perspective, venues will reach out, free venue hire, and I've got a budget for you to use. You know what I mean? So now I'm not using my own funds, but it's because of the value I'm now bringing. And I feel like it's a similar parallel where it's like you've now built your reps from, making no income, and you've put in the time into your art to the point where now you can sustainably, I guess, continue.
I'm like so privileged, bro. Like I don't know how many artists / independent artists in this country would be in the same position that I'm in. And like, it's weird because I feel like I'm still so far from where I want to be. But then I'm also like, no label, no one can tell me what to do, what to say, what to make.
That freedom.
And then on top of that, like, I don't have to have a day job. Like, that is insane, like, and I'm...
Kudos to that.
No, I'm like, I don't say that to, But
no. We know it's a humble perspective. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So
you worked your ass off, man.
What's the year? 2023. I started doing music, quote unquote, full time in 2018 when we moved to Sydney. I think that was like, I no longer had any income other than music. And like, I knew I probably had a year and a bit before I would
dry out.
And I just bet on myself and I went hard and I just backed that I would be able to like, but it's like, it's like, can you live with that stress? Like that's not, it's not necessarily a fun, and not only can you live with that stress, like, can you like continue to like be creative under that
with
stress,
that pressure too.
With that pressure. But for me, that's where I do my best stuff, I think. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I just think, again, it comes back to the North Star, right? Like, yeah, if you're super, if money is the motivation, I don't know how sustainable it will be in this industry. And that's not just, like, to me, money is like a byproduct. Like, me making money in this game is like a symptom of me making the art that I want to do.
Yeah, that's what we've always spoken about. Like, we've always talked about, like, it just being a method of sustainability, and all when we mean that is like just so we can do it more.
Yeah,
like, so do the art more. That's what the money is.
Yeah, exactly. Just
because the reality is, we live in a society where it's necessary.
Yeah.
So whatever. So you need it, but so to do that, you want like your art to be generating revenue, so it's sustainable.
And
that's what the motivation is, really.
Totally. Yeah. And I think what I was saying before about like having the delusional confidence, to just go, but then it's also like being able to like put your ego and pride aside, like to your North Star. So it's like, if all of this went to shit for me, and I had to go get a job, and I had to, to be able to just continue to be self-determined to make my art. In a heartbeat, I would do that, because like I just don't really want to compromise on having creative freedom, and like I think that's a hard thing to also really comprehend, because I think a lot of creative people get themselves into situations where, they maybe lose sight of like why they're doing what they're doing. So then that balance between commerce and art just goes more and more towards commerce. And it then just turns into like, working in a creative space, but no longer being creative. Yeah, exactly. No longer creative. Which, that's just not, I mean, I kind of feel lucky that like the industry like ignored and left us alone for long enough for us to like kind of develop and figure out like not only our craft, but also our, I guess, like ethos and ideas around like business and how to operate, because it meant that like they just left me alone to figure it out, that like
so kind of in summary, essentially what you're saying is preach patience, stay true to your art,
totally,
and find your North Star.
Oh man, like I wish I had just said it in like three sentences.
In three sentences.
Well, man. Like,
and I think on that note, we should probably wrap it up. Otherwise, we'll go all night.
Thank you so much. It's been a long time in the making.
First of many.
To happen.
First of many. I feel like there's so much more to unpack.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I fully switched off that anyone else may ever listen to this. I was just having fun.
So. No, that's what we love. That's how we do it. And that's the inner workings.
We want to thank Ziggy for being with us. And season 2 is going out the gate.
Going crazy. Yeah, cool. Thanks, everyone.
Salute.
Salute.
Thank you.